Chalo. So the last three example, one of the students requested to last three example. Last three example was the IFA tablet with the hemoglobin less than 11 in pregnant women. This is we give therapeutically as a part of treatment, because the hemoglobin cutoff value is the 11 gram per dl in the pregnancy. That's why we are giving therapeutically as a part of the treatment. That's why it's a secondary level of prevention. Treatment is the part. And the MCR footwear. MCR footwear is an example of tertiary level of the prevention as a tertiary level. MCR footwear is a tertiary level as a rehabilitation. And finally, health education to children regarding alcohol intake, bad effect of alcohol, bad effect of alcohol. This is primordial prevention. Okay. Audible to and visible. Question कहाँ? Okay. Next is the epidemiology. Is another very important and conceptual chapter. Abraham Lincoln, American president, once told that whatever I learned from the 6 servants, 6 WH question. What? Number 1, when? Number 2, where? Number 3. What, when, where? Who, why, and how? These are the 6 WH question. Abraham Lincoln, whatever learned from these 6 WH question. In epidemiology, which is a basic science, what means? What is the disease frequency? What is the disease frequency? How many persons are affected. When means time distribution, where means place distribution, who means person distribution. So this is the time, place, person. When is the disease happening? Time distribution. Where it is taking place is the place distribution. Who is the person affected is the person distribution. These are the three things are said to be the distribution. Why and how? Why? क्यों? And how? कैसे? Are said to be the determinants. Determinants. So epidemiology is the study of distribution and determinants. Distribution and determinants. Epidemiology is the study of this distribution and determinants of health related states and events. Of health related states or events. Epidemiology is the study of health related states or events, and application of the study to give the solution to the health problem. Solution to the health problem. So it is the study of distribution and determinants of health related states or events and application of study to give the solution to the health problem. This is the definition. Two key points under the epidemiology is the number one, distribution. Number two is the determinants. Number one is the distribution. Number two is the determinants. Okay. Next. Basic measures of epidemiology. Basic measures of epidemiology. First is the rate. Second is the ratio. Third is the proportion. First is the rate, second is the ratio, third is the proportion. So starting with the ratio. In a disease, suppose 80 male and 20 female are affected. Out of 100 population, 80 were male and 20 were female. So what will you write? Ratio of male is to female, 80 is to 20. 4 is to 1. So Male by female. Numerator is not a component of denominator. This is the characteristics. Question. Numerator is not the part of denominator. Is the numerator part of the denominator? Never. Male individual, female individual. So numerator is not the part of denominator, and simply it is expressed by the male by female. So what are the example? Number one, sex ratio. Example number one. What is meant by sex ratio? Number of the female per thousand male. Number of the female per thousand male. Number of female per thousand male is known as the sex ratio. Doctor population ratio. Is number two. Waist hip ratio. Which is one of the measures of obesity, is another example of ratio. Now, what is said to be the proportion? Proportion. Proportion means, suppose there is a, again, male number is the 80 in a disease pattern, female is the 20. So proportion of male (80 by 80 plus 20), 80 by 100. Out of 100, this is the denominator, is the total. Numerator, only the male. So here, this 80 is included in the denominator. Numerator is always a component of denominator. Numerator is always a component of denominator. Numerator is always a component of denominator. Usually expressed as percentage. Usually expressed as percentage. Coming to the rate. It is a measure of the frequency with which, it is a measure of frequency with which some event occurs. Some event occurs. That is the development of disease or the occurrence of development of disease or death, whatever may be. Measures of frequency with which some events occur. So it has a numerator. It has the component like this. It has the component like numerator, which is the occurrence of an event or disease. Occurrence of events or disease. This is the numerator component. Population at risk is the denominator. It should have a defined geographical area and it should have a defined within a defined time period. Defined time period. And it should have a multiplier like 1000 or lakh. Multiplier like 1000 or 1 lakh. According to the convenience. Suppose in case of the malaria, what is meant by population at risk? What is meant by population at risk? Suppose in case of the malaria, mosquito can bite anyone including the newborn 1 day baby to 99 years old person. Therefore, everyone of the population, if you are suppose finding out, so it is population at risk is everyone. But for maternal death, who are the population at risk? Only women who become pregnant are at risk. So denominator population of the risk. In case of the malaria, whole population. But in case of the maternal death, what will be the population? Only the pregnant women become the population at risk. Suppose death rate in Kolkata. Death rate in Kolkata in the year 2025. So we have defined area, that is the Kolkata. Defined time period means within this year. So crude death rate, suppose you are measuring crude death rate. What is the numerator? Death in 2025 in Kolkata. This is the numerator. And who are the population at risk? Mid-year population. Mid-year population is calculated as on the 1st July. You cannot, for a defined geographical area, you cannot calculate the mid-year population. डे टू डे वेरी करेगा ना, तो इसलिए जो पॉपुलेशन लेना पड़ेगा, that is the denominator population at risk, that we take as the mid-year population. So some multiply like the 1000. So occurrence of the event in the numerator, mid-year population in the denominator, defined area mentioned in the Kolkata, defined time period within the 1 year mentioned, mid-year population is mentioned, that is the defined time period and year defined, everything is mentioned, and multiplier is 1000 or lakh according to your convenience to avoid the fraction. So this is meant by the rate. So here also in the rate, numerator is the Numerator is the part of the denominator. ख्याल करके देखो, numerator is the part of denominator because this death, जो परसेंट जो डेथ है मीडियल पॉपुलेशन का अंदर में ही वो है, मीडियल पॉपुलेशन से ही वो है. देयरफॉर क्रूड डेथ रेट और एनी रेट जहां पर बोलेगा numerator is the part of the denominator. Clear? Next is the morbidity indicators. As I have told in the first chapter, some morbidity indicators are what I have told. The two very important morbidity indicator is number one, incidence. Number two, prevalence. Number one, incidence, and number two, prevalence. So how do we define new incidence? Incidence equal to number of new cases number of new cases number of new cases occurring in a defined population, occurring in a defined population during a specified period, during a specified period, divided by population at risk, population at risk multiplied by 1000. This is how we define incidence, number of new cases. In the Kolkata, in the year 2025, number of the new cases of dengue, that is the incidence of the dengue in Kolkata. Later on, while we will discuss case control and cohort study, we will find that the incidence can be calculated from cohort study. From cohort study. So by the definition, incidence is definitely a rate. Incidence is definitely a rate. Okay. Next is the prevalence. Prevalence. Number of the all individual new plus old. Number of new plus old who have an attribute or disease at a particular time or during a particular period. Number of the new or old cases who have an attribute or disease, who have an attribute or disease at a particular point or a particular period or a particular period, this will be your numerator. Population at risk is the denominator. Population at risk is the denominator. Again multiplied by something, 100 by 1000, etc. and so on. So prevalence is the number of the new plus old cases in the numerator. Incidence is the number of only new cases occurring at a disease. Okay. Coffee house. Coffee house. You are in the gate. You are counting how many number of the people entering. They are the new cases. They are the new cases. Suppose per hour 15 persons entering. So you are in the gate and you have found that the 6 hour there are 90% entered. So per hour 15% entering. This is the rate at which the person is entering. Now during this 6 hour you have found, or during the 1 hour, suppose 2 to 3 p.m. you have found these are the people is here 27. In this particular period 27 you are counting here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, that 27 persons are there. These are the new plus old. New plus old cases. These are said to be the prevalence. Prevalence can be of two types: point prevalence, period prevalence. Prevalence can be of two types. Point prevalence, period prevalence. Point prevalence for a particular point. Suppose at 2 p.m. you are counting at coffee house. Total population is the point prevalence. But period prevalence means suppose 2 to 3 p.m. Within this, you have counted total number of the in between 2 to 3. What is the total population? That is meant by the period prevalence. Now let's have this diagram. This is January 1. This is December 31. Suppose a person is having the disease. First person started the disease here, continuing up to here. Person number 2 started the disease here, ended here. Person number 3, diseases here, start here and passes this. He is continuing the disease now. after the December 31. Person number 4 who have started here and ended here within the this. Person number 5 here to here like that severe one. Person number 6 started after the December 31 like this. Person number 7 like this. And person number 8 like this. Now incidence during rate during the 1 year. During 1 year. What are the incidents? New cases within the 1 year. What are the new cases? 3, 4, 5, 8. Isn't it? So incidence rate will include 3, 4, 5, 8. These are the new cases. नया नया होगा एकदम 3, 4, 5 और 8 एकदम नया केस. 1 नंबर केस पुराना था. 2 नंबर केस भी इसका पहले से जनवरी का पहले से स्टार्ट हुआ था. 1 जनवरी टू December 31 इसका अंदर में स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ था, नया नहीं आया था. नंबर 7 भी सेम, लेकिन नंबर 8, नंबर 5, नंबर 4 एंड नंबर 3 यही चारों इंसिडेंट्स ड्यूरिंग द 1 ईयर इज द 3, 4, 5, 8. नाउ point prevalence at the January 1. Point prevalence at January 1. What is the point prevalence? यहां पर नया केस पुराना केस सब मिला के 1 जनवरी अगर तुम खड़ा रहोगे तो 1 नंबर 2 नंबर और 7 नंबर केस. You will find that the case number 1, case number 2 and case number 7, this is said to be the point prevalence at January 1. And point prevalence at December 31, that will include what? Point prevalence at December 31, that would include 1. ये तो कंटिन्यूएशन हो रहा है. 1 नंबर 3 नंबर कंटिन्यूएशन हुआ है, यहां से क्रॉस किया है. 5 नंबर क्रॉस किया है, 8 नंबर क्रॉस किया है. इसलिए point prevalence at December 31, that it will include 1, 3, 5, 8. But the period prevalence January to December 31, what are the period prevalence? Period prevalence इसके अंदर में नया पुराना सब केस 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 and 8 except 6 all will be included. यहां से इतना तक नया केस क्या क्या है? 3, 4, 5 है. पुराना केस क्या क्या है? 1 नंबर तो था, 2 नंबर था, 7 नंबर है. 6 नंबर छोड़ के all are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 will be the period prevalence. So this is the basic concept regarding the what is meant by the period prevalence and this one. Now mathematically prevalence is related with incidence and the D. D is the mean duration of the disease. D is the mean duration of disease. Disease with longer duration like tuberculosis. इन लोगों का क्या होता है? Prevalence is generally show higher than that of the incidence. साल में जाओगे किसी भी समय में प्रीवेलेंस, नया केस मिलेगा, पुराना केस भी मिलेगा. डिजीज विद द लॉन्गर ड्यूरेशन एज द डी इज हायर, ड्यूरेशन लाइक ट्यूबरक्लोसिस ज्यादा जिसका होता है, प्रीवेलेंस इज ग्रेटर देन दैट ऑफ द इंसिडेंस. Disease with the shorter duration, disease with shorter duration or acute illness, either because of the rapid recovery of death, rapid recovery or death, shorter duration is shorter, prevalence comparatively will be lower. These come, the prevalence will be lower than that of the incidence, lower than that of the incidence. Prevalence incidence से कम शो करेगा. एग्जाम्पल लाइक फूड पॉइजनिंग, एग्जाम्पल लाइक फूड पॉइजनिंग. तो इतना एक्यूट इलनेस 2 से 3 दिन होके खत्म हो जाता है तो उसका इंसिडेंस ज्यादा होगा, लेकिन प्रीवेलेंस एक पर्टिकुलर पीरियड के अंदर में अगर जाओगे तो प्रीवेलेंस तुम्हें नहीं भी मिल सकता है, और पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट में अगर जाओगे तो प्रीवेलेंस नहीं भी मिल सकते का प्रोबेबिलिटी है. इसलिए जो फूड पॉइजनिंग ऐसा एक्यूट इलनेस जो होता है, इसके लिए प्रीवेलेंस होता है कम. ओके, नेक्स्ट, improvement of the treatment may decrease the duration, therefore prevalence may decrease. कहीं पर ट्रीटमेंट पहले से इंक्रीज हुआ है, इंप्रूवमेंट ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट, इंप्रूवमेंट ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट क्या हो सकता है, may decrease the duration, may decrease duration. तो ड्यूरेशन डिक्रीज होने से क्या होगा, प्रीवेलेंस में डिक्रीज, प्रीवेलेंस डिक्रीज बिकॉज P इज इक्वल टू I इंटू डी. ड्यूरेशन डिक्रीज करेगा तो प्रीवेलेंस भी डिक्रीज करेगा. सिंपल मैथमेटिक्स, सिंपल मैथमेटिक्स. ओके, नेक्स्ट, mortality measurements. First is the crude death rate. Simplest measure, the rate at which people dying is the mortality indicator. Simplest mortality indicator is the crude death rate. Crude death rate is equal to number of deaths from all causes, number of deaths, whatever may be the cause, all causes during the year, it is a rate during the year in a particular place divided by median population. This is what is the crude death rate. How many persons are dying irrespective of the age, sex or disease. We are determining the number of the death from the all causes, all sexes, all genders. Therefore, crude death rate is the simple measures the rate at which the people are dying. Excuse me. Hello. ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, নাকের ড্রপটা দিয়ে যান খালি, আর কিছু খেতে হবে একদমই না, শুধু নাকের ড্রপটা দেবেন আর ভেপারটা নেবেন, কিচ্ছু না। এবার শুধু ভেপারটা। এটা কবে দেখেছিলেন আমাকে? কোন ডেটে? ডেট বলুন আমাকে। শুধু নাকের ড্রপটা দেবেন আর ভেপারটা নেবেন। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, একদম না। না তো, আর খেতে হবে। এই তো সব অ্যান্টিবায়োটিক খেয়ে রয়েছে, আর খেতে হবে? আর লাগবে না ওটা। একদম। আচ্ছা। So crude death rate. So we cannot assess what are the male proportion diet, what are the female proportion diet, and what are the disease diet because of the different disease. That's why specific death rate has arrived. Specific death rate. First is the number one, cause specific or disease specific. Cause or disease specific. Specific death rate due to specific death rate due to TB, specific death rate due to malaria, etc. and so on. Related to the specific group, related to the specific group, maybe age specific, maybe sex specific, maybe other religion specific. Suppose any one, for example, specific death rate due to TB, इसको अगर लिखना है specific death rate due to TB in Kolkata in 2025, in Kolkata in 2025. So what will be the numerator? What will be the numerator? Numerator will be the number of death due to TB. Number of death due to TB. Number of death due to TB in Kolkata in 2025 divided by population at risk, means such a media population. Media population is taken as 1st July of the year. This is the media population day we calculate with respect to this, that 1st July of the year multiplied by what? Multiplied by a suitable multiplier like the 1000 or maybe 1 lakh if the fraction is coming in such a way. So what is the answer? Suppose the answer is the 27. So how will you write? Specific death rate due to TB is 27 per 1000 mid-year population. Specific death rate due to TB in Kolkata in 2025 is 27 per 1000 mid-year population. Mid-year population. This is how we write. Next is a very, very important question is the CFR. CFR. Mass flow area. CFR. Case fatality. CFR is equal to number of deaths due to particular disease. Number of deaths due to particular disease divided by number of cases of the disease multiplied by 100. First is, it's not a ratio. Since numerator is the part of the denominator. Number of the deaths. Suppose dengue, there are 120 dengue cases and out of them 20 dies. Therefore CFR will be 20 out of 120. केस में कितना केस है उसका अंदर में कितना मर गया है multiplied by 100. So numerator is a part of the denominator, so it's not a ratio. Ratio में numerator is the part of denominator. Okay, it's not a rate because time interval is not specified. Time interval is not specified. Time interval is not specified in definition. Not specified. It's a simply proportion. It's a simply proportion of death to case. ওই রেডি মানে কথাটা ক্লিয়ার করার জন্য তুমি চলে এসো তাহলে এখনটা কাটিয়ে যাই রাই থাকবে যদি তোকে বলা আছে 6টার সময় বেরোতে বলেছি বেরোনোর আগে তোমাকে ফোন করে নিতে তুমি একবার ফোন করে নিও একবার এখনই করে না যখন বেরো 6টার সময় যখন আসবে তখন ভুলে না যায় তার একবার ফোন করে নিও একবার ঠিক আছে আমি বলেছি বৌদিকে মনে আছে ঠিক আছে So it's a simply proportion of death to case. It's not a ratio. Ratio means male is to female. Numerator is not the part of the denominator, but here is the numerator is the part of the denominator. It's not a rate because the time interval is not specified. It's a proportion. This R is basically misnomer. Case fatality rate. Exam में दिया है, मतलब किताब में दिया हुआ है. Basically misnomer. It's a simply proportion. Proportion of what and what? Proportion of death to case. Death to case. This is simply proportion. And it represent, very important multiple choice question, it represent the killing power of the disease. It represent the killing power of disease. It is closely related to the virulence. It is related to the virulence. इतना भयंकर एक डिजीज हो सकता है, उसको क्लोजली रिलेटेड टू virulence. यह है क्वेश्चन. It represents the killing power of the disease. It is closely related to the virulence. यह है क्वेश्चन. CFR बेसिकली डिजीज का अंदर में कितना मरने का चांस है, माने डेंगी आउट ऑफ 100% कितना परसेंट will die. CFR is equal to 1 minus survival rate. इसका सर्वाइवल रेट, CFR of rabies 100%. That means number of the case, death by case to multiplied by 100, number of the case, number of the death, जितना केस होगा उतना ही होचे डेथ होगा. कोई भी रेबीज पर्सन will not survive theoretically. येलो फीवर 80%, येलो फीवर 80%, তার out of 100 yellow fever case 80% will die. JE 35%. Out of 100 JE case 35% will die. This is mean by the your CFR. CFR is typically used for, and fortunately and unfortunately, COVID-19 pandemic, the CFR was only 3 to 4%. That's why it was fortunate enough that we survived. In spite of suffering, we survived from the COVID-19 pandemic because of the low CFR value, 3 to 4%. And CFR typically applies for acute infectious disease. Like cholera, food poisoning, dengue, malaria, etc. CFR typically applies for acute, typically applies for acute infectious disease. Okay. Next. Classification of the epidemiological study. Classification of epidemiological study. Epidemiological study is broadly classified into first is the observational. Second is the experimental. First is the observational study. Second is the experimental study. In experimental study, we generally intervention is given. Intervention is given by the researcher. Observational study, we only collect the data by the observing or the examining, but no intervention. No intervention is given by the researcher. This is further classified into two types. Descriptive study and analytical study. Descriptive study means we describe with respect to time, place, person. And very important to understand that in the descriptive study, hypothesis is formulated. So after the descriptive study, hypothesis is formulated. Hypothesis means such a one statement. Hypothesis is formulated. So suppose after a study, descriptive study with respect to the time, place and person distribution, we generate a hypothesis like cigarette smoking may be associated with maybe. This is the formulated. May be associated, may be a causative factor for the lung cancer. In the analytical study, this hypothesis is tested, which is generated. Hypothesis is tested in the analytical study. Those hypotheses is formulated, that is tested in the analytical study. Analytical study, different types. Under the analytical study, the main types of the analytical study, number one, ecological study. Number two, cross-sectional study. Number three, case control study. Number four, cohort study. Ecological study number one, cross-sectional study number two, case control study number three, cohort study number four. And in the experimental or interventional study, hypothesis is confirmed. This is the hypothesis tested. Whether that hypothesis is true or false. Here the hypothesis is confirmed. Hypothesis is confirmed with the experimental study. Out of the experimental study, randomized controlled trial is the main. randomized control trial. To know the efficacy of a vaccine, whether the vaccine is efficacious or not, we do the randomized control trial. Field trial may be the second one, community trial, etc. are the different experimental study where we intervene, where we give some percent of vaccine and see the result whether that is protective for the disease or not. This is what is meant by experimental study. These are the some basic procedure. Okay. Evidence-based medicine is the gold standard for clinical practice. Gold standard for clinical practice. So, highest to least importance. Highest to least important. Why is the epidemiological study are descending order? First is the systematic review and meta-analysis. First is the meta-analysis. No need to go through the details, only to remember the name, followed by this order is a question, followed by systematic analysis, followed by randomized control trial, followed by cohort study, followed by case control study, followed by case series, case report, case series, case report. So this is the descending order, maybe a question of your examination. And next is the another two things. What is longitudinal study and what is the difference between longitudinal study and cross-sectional study? Difference between cross-sectional and longitudinal. Cross-sectional study means we will go to the patient to collect the data and for a single time. For a single time, we will collect the data. We will not follow up the patient or intervene the patient. We simply, for a single time, we will collect the data from the patient. Real-time collection of data. Suppose we want to measure the prevalence of hypertension in our community. So there are suppose 1200 population. We will go to the person, 1200 person, and if not feasible, we will do the sampling. There are different techniques of sampling. Out of the sampling, we'll take 100 or 200 feasibility wise, or there is some method of calculation of the sampling. So we will take that this 120% and we will see how much of them is distributed, how much of it is distributed with the hypertension, and this is, we will not follow up, we'll just give them advice what to do and what not to do, and bas, that is your cross-sectional study. But longitudinal study means we will follow up. Follow up. We will follow up whether they are developing the disease or not. Very, very too important longitudinal study is the cohort study number 1. Secondly, randomized control trial is also a type of longitudinal study, because we will move forward and see whether there any follow-up. We will follow up the patient and see whether the result of the disease, result of the disease, or whatever maybe we want to judge. So this is the basic difference between the cross-sectional. It's a snapshot, single time snapshot. But in the longitudinal study, we will follow up. Next is the cross-sectional study. Headline. Effect to cause. Sorry. Case control study headline. Case control study. Effect to cause. So already, who are the cases? Cases means those are already suffering from the disease. Already suffering or having the disease. That means outcome already happened. Outcome already happened. These are the cases. And who are the control? Person without the disease. Person without the disease. Person without the disease but having similar age, sex, socio-economic status, etc. Socio-economic status, etc. These are said to be the control. Person without the disease. So suppose we want to generate, so from a descriptive study we have generated one hypothesis that smoking may be a cause of lung cancer. This is the hypothesis generated. We will not test the hypothesis. So what will you do? Suppose there are 50 already those who have the lung cancer. Lung cancer patient we will take from the different hospital. So these are your cases, and 50 without lung cancer but similar characteristics without lung cancer, they are the control. So this is your, now we will take their history from the cases as well as the control. How many long back they have started their smoking, what were the how many packet they take, different backward history, effect to cause. Effect already happened. We are now searching for the cause. Effect to cause. Effect to cause is the main thing. Next, here is a 2 by 2 table. So those with the lung cancer, these are the cases. So disease, yes, no. Disease, yes, no. These are the cases. These are the control. So total number of the disease was the 50. And total number of the control, that will be again your 50. Cases 50, control 50. So out of the total, who were the exposed? Here the exposure is the smoking. Non-exposed means non-smoker. Non-exposed means non-smoker. So this 50 and 50 will be distributed. So suppose this is the value is the 30, this value is the 20. Here is the value is the suppose 20, this value is the 30. What we calculate, that is the odds ratio, odds ratio. This column is supposed to be the A, this is supposed to be the B, this is supposed to be the D, and this is supposed to be the D. So A by B divided by C by D. What is A by B? Cases among exposure. Probability of the cases among the exposed is what? 30 by 20. Exposed by non-exposed, A by B by C by D. So this multiplication ultimately led to the AD by BC. These into this multiplied by these into this is equal to AD by BC. Means 30 into 30 divided by 20 into 20. 2.25 is the odds ratio. What is the interpretation of the odds ratio? What is the interpretation of the odds ratio? That the among the exposure, there is a 2.25 times chance of developing among the exposure, মানে among the lung cancer patient, 2.25 times, among the smoker patient, 2.25 times chance of developing the lung cancer. This is the interpretation. AD by DC. This is the 2 by 2 chart. A, B, C, and D. This is the disease, yes, no. This is the exposed. This is the non-exposed. This AD by BC. AD by BC is the your fact. AD by BC is the fact which we will determine. Next, what are the advantage of the lung case control study? Advantage is the major advantage of the case control study. No ethical issue. Already the disease has happened. It is major advantage. Good for rare disease. Good for rare disease. Inexpensive. What are the major disadvantage? मैचिंग ऑफ केस एंड कंट्रोल. केस एंड कंट्रोल, इसको मैच करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. सेकेंडली, रिकॉल बायस. इतना दिन पहले स्टार्ट किया है स्मोकिंग, सो वो कितना दिन पहले कितना करके खाता था भूलने का चांस है. रिकॉल बायस इज वन ऑफ द मेजर डिसएडवांटेज. One of the major disadvantage. And thirdly, incidents cannot be found because already the disease has happened. Incidents, new cases, incidents cannot be found. These are the different advantage and disadvantage of the case control study. Any query up to this? We will finish up to this today. So if you have any query, let me know. We will finish up to this today. Sixth point in the studying of the epidemiology. Odds ratio calculation AD by BC, A into D. Sequentially लिखोगे. No, it is not always positive. Odds ratio is not always positive because odds ratio can be 1. Odds ratio is positive is number 1. Always positive, but can be greater than 1, less than 1 or equal to 1. But it is always positive, yes. Odds ratio is always positive, yes. But it can be greater than 1, 1 or less than 1. Clear? Sixth point in the starting epidemiology. Sixth point in the starting epidemiology. Yes. When the odds ratio greater than 1 means the factor is associated with the disease. When the odds ratio is less than 1, the factors is not associated with the disease, rather protective, and the factor is 1, no association. Sixth point in the starting epidemiology is the what is the disease frequency? What is the disease frequency? Then the time, place, person means time means when, place means where, and person means who, and why and how, that is the determinants. Understood? Okay, up to this today we'll meet. Few days later the date will be notified definitely. Good night to everyone. अच्छे से पढ़ोगे ठीक से, ठीक है? चलो कंप्लीट. close.